What's going on? It's your boy Sermon at Sermon's Domain on Twitter. The moment we've all been waiting for, and the moment that French Montana has undoubtedly been waiting for, as his new single featuring Drake titled No Shopping was premiered on OVO Sound Radio today. This is the record that set Joe Budden off. We saw the small little snippet that French teased on Instagram, 3-4 weeks ago? And hearing that pump it up part set Joe off. But I always felt like Joe might have heard more of the verse, because you got Joe, who is cool with French Montana. They've worked together, so I feel like maybe French was trying to, egg him on. And it's a smart thing on French's behalf, because it builds him up some buzz. Like, people have been waiting for this song. Yeah, but it seems like Joe Budden was more inspired by hearing the whole verse than just that pump it up part, because that could have been all that was in the verse, and then Joe Budden would have kind of looked stupid. But it's not, and we'll get into Drake's parts in a few minutes. But I wanted to highlight French Montana first. I mean, it is his record, so you kind of have to. I think he had a pretty good verse. It'll be overshadowed by Drake's, of course, but I liked his verse. He says, running through them keys way before Khaled, running with the pushes way before Malice. French is not really a lyricist. He doesn't spit anything that makes you just go, what? Whoa. It's not ridiculous in a good way. It's solid material for French, though. So I like those two lines that I just quoted. I like those lines. And now I got to get to the hook. French Montana has too many hooks that follow that I got the moolah type of style. Like, how many hooks does he have where he talks about, I'm getting money, I got money, I'm about to get money, we just spent money? Like, it gets boring after a while. And I think that's the one drawback with this record, No Shopping, is that, like, the verses themselves aren't really focused on, like, spending money to that degree. So I think if they would have just, did a better hook, the whole song overall would be, like, really good start to finish. But that's the one flaw. Now let's talk about Drake's part. Drake's verse obviously was made when Joe Budden made his comments on the podcast, so Drake is not responding to the two disses that Joe Budden put out already, but he is responding to him. I gotta commend Drake, because for him to go direct, like, sometimes when he does subliminals, you always wonder, is that at him? Like the whole Drake versus Kendrick thing. You always were like, could that be aimed at Kendrick? But with this one, you have a clear idea who it is at. And it is clearly at Joe Budden when he says, I'm not a one-hit wonder, they know all my stuff. You let me turn into the nigga that you almost was. Joe Budden, a one-hit wonder. And I'm pretty sure he'll admit that himself. They all know Drake stuff, of course. And I don't know, that line, the second line, you almost let me turn into the person that you almost was. I don't know if that's really hard hitting, because I don't look at Joe Budden as someone who could have been at Drake's level. Joe Budden doesn't have that much of a crossover appeal. So that line itself is really ineffective. But the one-hit wonder line was cool. But again, I think dissing Joe Budden is kind of like when Eminem dissed himself in the 8 Mile movie. He's done it. Like, Joe Budden's acknowledged all his faults through his music. It's really like, you can't hurt the man. And I don't know, I'm looking on Twitter and people are very impressed. Like, oh my God, he called him a one-hit wonder. Joe Budden is dead. He killed him. Like, I don't think any of that. Call me crazy, but I just don't think you can, at least in Drake's position, he can't really say anything to Joe Budden that would really damage his career or make people see him in a different way. I think the people that are Drake fans were going to be impressed no matter what he said. Drake could say, oh, Joe Budden doesn't take baths, and everybody would be on Twitter clowning him because of that, even if it's fake. Another line from Drake that made a lot of sense was he makes it clear that he's never started the beefs that he's been involved in. And I think that's true like 90%, 95% of the time. You look at Common, you look at Pusha T, you look at Meek Mill, and then Joe Budden. He didn't really start any of those wars. Common came at him first. Pusha T threw the subliminals first. Meek Mill said he was, he has a ghostwriter first. Joe Budden said his comments on the podcast. The only person I think is the exception might be Jay-Z. And maybe I'm wrong about this, but I'm just going off of what I remember. Drake did his he said what he had to say about Jay-Z from that Rolling Stone cover that was a big disaster. It was huge because it's Drake and it's Rolling Stone, it's a cover, but it was disastrous because he made comments that he didn't want out there. And that's when Drake said he wasn't going to do interviews anymore and all that stuff. But I remember he was talking about how Jay-Z was, rapping about art and all that. And then Jay responded on the We Made It freestyle with Jay Electronica. So I think that was the one moment where Drake actually initiated it, even if he wasn't trying to. But all the other times, it's like everybody else came at him first. There's another line right here that I think is aimed at Meek Mill. He said, "How you out here celebrating like the winning team?" Now that could be at Joe Budden because he's always on Twitter. He's always retweeting his fans and acting like he won already. But I think it's more along the lines of Meek because Meek is still out here dissing Drake and acting like he won. Like he doesn't realize that he lost the feud. The other thing I wanted to talk about real brief is that Drake says he was supposed to be on vacation. I think it shows how much he cared to respond, that he took like that little time off of his vacation to go and record this verse and respond to Joe Budden and possibly Meek Mill. It was, I don't know, it just shows like how much power Joe Budden actually has. People are sitting here calling him irrelevant and that Drake would never respond. And here Drake feels like he has to respond to him. So it was interesting to see that line in there and just kind of dissect it like, he cares this much to address it. Because Joe Budden's podcast it's pretty big on the internet, but it's not like big worldwide. Like it's not getting national news coverage or anything like that. So it affected Drake enough to want to respond. Overall, No Shopping is pretty good. Like I said, it has a bad hook, but the verses are good. Drake's disses are okay, but I'm not focusing on the entire, just the disses. I'm focusing on the entire verse. I liked it. French's verse was good too. And without question, this is the type of record that'll continue to build the buzz for MC4, which drops August 19th. French Montana also has Lockjaw out, which is killing it. He has the Figure It Out record with Kanye and Nas. So he's off to a really good start with the promotion leading up to the album. But let me know what you think about No Shopping, French Montana featuring Drake in the comment section below. And then like the video, subscribe to the channel if you're not already, share the video. Follow me on Twitter at Sermons Domain. And as always, thank you for your time. I appreciate you for watching. And until next time, peace.